a show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Romney Turtola Pier Park, NV Salon, Nail Spa and Barbershop, Tisley Cross Deliciously Smooth Cider, and Digicel, simply more speed, reliability and entertainment.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.
This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. Today we want to be talking about what is being advocated throughout the month of September. Alzheimer's awareness. My guest, Mr. Larry Griner. I am not going to do too much in telling you who he is. I'll have him. But first, welcome to the Virgin Islands.
Thank you very much.
The Greater Virgin Islands, because I recognized earlier in our greeting you said the British Virgin Islands. It's the first time that you're here.
It is the very first time in this area, yes. That's correct.
Awesome. For the sake of our audience, could you give us a little introduction to yourself, who you are, and just why you are here in the Virgin Islands?
Well, again, I'll start off being I was a caregiver, care partner for my mother for over the past 4.5 years. And my mom had Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's, of course, took her a little bit by little bit away from us on a daily basis. And I returned from California, where I was living, to relieve my brother, who had been caring for my mother for the past 4+ years on his own. And I recognized that I had to do my part, not just to come back home to help my mother, but also to relieve my brother, who had given so much. He had a family, a job, other responsibilities on top of caring for my mother, which definitely takes its toll. I was lucky enough to be able to put my life in a storage locker and say goodbye to my job for a while and come home and be a part of my mother's life. For that matter, I came home to give my mother a life. Alzheimer's zaps, the individual of so much, memories from their past, and even the present only lasts for a few minutes. And my goal was our goal, as far as my brothers and my sister, was to keep our mom in her home for as long as we could. You can't stop the progression of Alzheimer's, but you can kind of deal with it in any way that you recognize you can have your loved one enjoy the moment, as we said. And one of the lucky things that we had was Mom's love for music that she had throughout her life. And I thought playing music would have been just enough, but it wound up turning into something completely more. Whereas I used to share videos that we made on Facebook that eventually became very impactful and actually inspirational to people that were caring for their loved ones with dementia and Alzheimer's. Recognizing that their loved one was still in that shell of the person they were caring for, you had to find a way to get back to what they enjoyed or find something to bring their old self out. And again, music was the pathway that I used to get to my mom.
But you knew that would have been it for her?
I had no idea.
So tell us about the moment you discovered that to be the thing to touch Mom's heart.
Well, the responses that I received were, yes, she enjoyed the music, and yes, she could remember some of the tunes and some of the lyrics. But then she kind of took it to her own level, where she started performing for myself for a little bit. And I used to take her to a park to, of course, get her out of the house. And then she started performing for everybody that passed us by. We became, kind of famous in the park for Mom's reactions to when she saw children. She lit up, carried on conversations with others that we encountered. And then some of the little headpieces that you would see that she would wear that people had sent her from around the world. This was a situation where when I took her to the park, I had bought some rabbit ears a couple years back, just for Easter, and we had some fun with it. Bunny ears. And I put them on Facebook. Mom was, doing her little thing with her bunny ears and enjoying the people that passed by, and people on Facebook saw those bunny ears and said, I love that. Can I send your mom some headpieces? Well, 3.5 years later, I wound up with over 300 headpieces from 20 different countries. And you'll see those on our Facebook videos of her donning whatever it might be, orange dreadlocks, fluorescent green dreadlocks with lights, little hats from New Orleans. I've received from New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, even the Ukraine. Prior to the war, we were in touch with a couple ladies over there that contacted me because what they saw was Mom coming out of that Alzheimer's shell to enjoy a little bit of life, to know that music was able to touch her and that she could actually communicate with that by entertaining, not just for myself, but for the other people that we came across. It was something special, and it turned into something more overwhelming special because of the impact that she had made to thousands of people around the world. It's a little bit of hope that you can enjoy some moments with your loved ones. It's a little bit of hope that you can reach them, as it did like my mom. Even when you played some music, eventually because you broke her out of that focus or unfocus that they have with that disease, she was able to occasionally just remember something else about her past that she could share. You could never really ask a question, Mom, what are you thinking? It was always like, don't know, you didn't know what they were thinking, they didn't know what they were thinking, but for some reason that music touched in them probably a memory that they had that you didn't know how you could bring out. But we were lucky to do that through the years that we were playing the music and the videos.
Do you remember the first song that you played for her and she reacted? And also what prompted you to turn the camera on from that first go?
Well, I know about what turned the camera on. It's like, what am I looking at here? It's hard to say which song. I started with a set of like 40 songs of classical because my mother loved classical music and opera as she was growing up. And that I wanted to pick because that's what she was most familiar with and what she had loved. Mom sang for the Baltimore Symphony Chorus for over 24 years. And I know performed a lot of the classical, Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, it goes on and on and on. I can't even pronounce some of the composers that she had performed to, but that music is what brought her to life, to the point where she knew every single note within a song, doing hand movements, doing facial movements, body movements to whatever, and she actually choreographed it herself. But every single time was a little different. But the music was the same in her mind. I knew that's what she enjoyed. And I progressed from there to looking at songs that she had when she grew up as a young adult. Back to Motown, Nat King Cole, even some Bob Marley. I didn't know what she knew until I played it. She might not know the introduction, but then she picked up the chorus, then she picked up the lyrics, and then we could play with it. And if we didn't know the lyrics, I would Google them and I would sing with her. Those were the fun times. I never knew what to expect when I turned the camera on, but then certain things I knew what to expect. I just didn't know to what extent.
You were always a social media person, loving Facebook.
I had no clue on all this. I used it sporadic. I mean, every now and then. I only posted a couple of videos in the beginning just because, hey, look what my mother's doing. And it was a smile. She brought smiles out to anybody that saw her doing what she was doing. And then it just progressed. You can never have enough smiles. And especially when you're a care partner or a caregiver for a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, you need as many smiles as you can. And if you can create one and help somebody learn how to get one also from their loved one, then that was the most rewarding part. It was therapy for me. Therapy for me. I think with all the people that have contacted me, thousands of people that have contacted me over the years, from seeing Mom's videos and doing the same thing, thanking me for giving them, the hope that they can find some way to find that pathway back to their loved one. And because of those communications, I wasn't as alone as I really was. A caregiver is alone because you're on an island taking care of your loved one. You're lucky that you have somebody that can pop in and help. I was lucky. I had 2 brothers and a sister that gave me the support that I needed. But I wanted them to live their lives. My job or my responsibility when I came home from California was to do for my mother and to relieve my brother. So my social life was on hold. It was pushed to the side because
Mommy became the social part of you.
the social part of every part of me. I didn't have enough of me left to give to others because I wanted my whole soul to be there for my mother. That means no work, little activities, work out in the morning, but come home after she is settled. We were lucky. We had a caregiver that came in during the week. So those immediate needs, clothing, bathing, feeding, were done by our caregiver. Our caregiver, Gertrude, was with Mom the entire time that she had that diagnosis of Alzheimer's, almost 12 years. And so she became a family member, pretty much because of that. That saved us of that aspect.
Yes.
I wanted to give her the life that you have, not sitting in a seat watching TV, looking out the window all day long. Get out and about, different visual stimuli, out to a park, see the changing of leaves in the fall, and then of course the interactions with other people that really, really, really made the difference.
You said you would have packed up your life into a storage bin and then came home to Mom. Did you eventually see this as a job?
Well, a job you can clock out at the end of the day. As a care partner, as a caregiver, you can't clock out. Even when you get the break to leave the house for a break, or I go to the gym, I've got my caregiver at home, or my brothers that might relieve me for a day or even a weekend. You know what you're coming back to. So you really never leave that emotional tie that you were doing or involved with your parent. You get a physical break as much as you can, but you don't get that emotional break. Alzheimer's being progressive, it's not going to get any better. And with that, watching it get even worse, the caregiver doesn't get any better.
Oh.
So you're slowly, they say it's a slow death because the brain is dying. Knowing that, what you had on Monday is going to be a little different on Tuesday, it's going to be a little different on Wednesday. Hopefully you can prolong a little bit during the course of the time. I recognize without the activity that Mom and I had, getting out and about to the park or the music, and what worked for us hopefully slowed down the progression. Although being there on a 24/7 basis, you saw the progression. You knew the changes that were happening to her physically. You knew the changes that were happening to her, even her emotions here and there. But I also recognize having the interaction with her on a constant basis helped prolong her
life and her happiness.
Correct. I would like to say that I prolonged her life. But I can look in the mirror and say, yes, it did, because you never know what would have happened if I did not come home.
Yes. I see that became a whole lot emotional for you even in this moment, knowing that you are satisfied that you would have done your best, put your personal life on hold to come and make sure that you are there for Mom. And they usually say sons are Mom's favorites. And,
Heck yeah.
But thank God I have 2 sons, so I feel good about it. But take us to some of those treasured memories of Mom that you will forever carry with you, and those that you thought of when you said, listen, I've got to go relieve my brother or help my brothers and my one sister. What is those cherished things about Mom that caused you to do that?
I don't know if you can call it a cherished memory, because the hardest part about this is seeing the changes that you weren't prepared for. Anybody that has a loved one, parent, whomever, in their life that has this disease, you cannot prepare for what you're about to witness, care for, and observe over time. So again, the moment that's not cherished but is memorable is the first time my mother did not know who I was. I came home from California for a funeral, walked into the kitchen, Mom was sitting there, and it wasn't a matter of just forgetting your name briefly. She could look right into my eyes and did not know who I was. When I say this disease affects everyone, it affects not just the loved one, it affects the entire family, because everybody is being forgotten to some extent, to a lot of extent. And for me at that point in time, being 3,000 miles away, coming home, and then all of a sudden wanting to walk into the kitchen and say, "Hi, Mom, I love you, I'm home," and for her not to know you was the biggest impact in my life. I can never forget that. And I think anybody that goes through that will never forget that impactful time or that impactful moment that they experienced with their loved one. After you start caring for them, you recognize it's part of the disease. It's part of what's going to happen. They will not know you. Being there 24/7, I was lucky she could at least recognize me as her son, well, as Lawrence, being in the house. I was there. But did she recognize that I was her son at that time? No. But there were times where there were flashes where, yes, she would introduce me as her son. You know, here's my son Lawrence. But then she could say, "You are Lawrence, aren't you?" So there's reflection there to recognize I'm glad that she did have those moments, even just to remember my name. You never know how frequent. You kind of take it with a grain of salt. Yeah, she knows me today, but I know what's going to happen 5-10 minutes from now. If anything, it was also, I think, some cherished moments were the opportunities to see her live life to the fullest, even for the briefest moments that we had playing the music or interacting with people. We were with a group of people at the park one day, and we finished up a little song video, and she got into a conversation with the people that were there, and it just so happened come up, they asked where Mom was from, and anytime you said Philadelphia, Mom, Philadelphia, that's my hometown. And then she went into talking about her childhood, a conversation I never had with her, and a conversation even not with me that I heard her have with anyone. But she talked about her life with her father, her life with her mother, 2 different locations in Virginia and in Pennsylvania, and I just sat there amazed and teared up because parts of her were coming out again. And those times make it worthwhile that I can say, thank goodness I found something that she can recollect that was special to her and will always be special to her. How I can bring it out again, who knows? In a lot of cases, those special moments are long gone after they're had. Thank goodness I have the videos. Over 2,000 videos over time. I'm lucky, and I'm hoping that others that see this recognize, don't wait. Video, photograph, anything, because you need the memories. You definitely need the memories. It worked out for us, and thank goodness.
It can work out for many others as well.
And thank God, yeah, we've literally, and I say we, as Mom and myself, messages over the past 2.5 years, I could literally say over 200,000 people have contacted me and told me their life stories of everything from onset to they're in the process of, to my loved one just passed away. But your videos help me get through those tough times. How could you not feel happy about that?
Awesome.
So I never felt lonely to that extent. I felt lucky in certain ways because a lot of those stories I had heard, all I could think about was my mom going to be in that same condition sooner or later? So I had to try harder. I wanted to make sure I was consistent with the care that we had, and it worked. It worked. Unfortunately, she passed unexpectedly, not necessarily from the disease, from a heart attack in the hospital. But you can never be ready, regardless of whether or not you know it's coming or whether or not it's all of a sudden. So I'm still in that process. This is, when they're gone, it doesn't mean that your journey is over.
Over, yes, because they live on in your heart.
Correct.
Forever. You wear her, and I love that photograph of her that you have in there on the T-shirt. It shows a strong woman, and she seems so artistic. I think I can relate to who your mom is now, looking at that photo.
That reflection, your perception of this had come from many other people that have said, I like that picture, this is what it means to me. And so, I carry this now as a we fought, and we won, in a big way. But she was so passionate about her music, not just because of her love, but when she got into it, she wanted to show it. And this came from
you can see that.
Yeah.
But you were saying.
Or you're saying, well, this is one of the headpieces that someone sent us as bumblebees. And it just so happened to go, or with her shirt that day. But this is just one of the 300 that she received.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you took a decision to journey to the Virgin Islands to share with our people here. What was that draw factor that caused you to be here?
Well, the draw factor definitely was because mom's known internationally. And her videos were, helping people down here, and a couple of people. Edna is the director of the association down here, has been influenced by my mother, and the opportunity to be able to at least help with additional awareness. I know because of the fact of all those people that have contacted me from around the world, this is not a local disease. This is everywhere. And unfortunately, being everywhere, it is still under wraps. So many people have no clue what's going on. Some people don't even know that it's Alzheimer's or dementia. So the awareness aspect is what I'm trying to help with. I'm trying to use my passion right now with mom's passing and keep her legacy alive, and to help those that have helped me in my journey, to bring awareness to those that don't know anything about it, to know that you can impact those that are caring for somebody, that you can make an impact for the loved one that's in your family. You don't have to be there 24/7 like myself. To just be aware of all those periphery activities that can help a care partner, a loved one, your own self, to make somebody safer in their home if they're going through that. Especially, there's a lot of people out there that are diagnosed that are living independently. People really need to stick their heads in there and say, well, are they safe? Taking the sharp objects away. Not having a gas stove, because forgetful of the gas stove, you can see the problems happen there. Taking car keys from time to time. There's a whole lot of little things that you can step in to help with. It goes on and on and on. But the awareness specifically to let everybody know this disease doesn't just afflict the loved one with it. It afflicts the care partner. It afflicts all your family members. When you start recognizing that you're not recognized by somebody that's known you all your life, how does that affect you? And how can you make a difference? And if you don't step in, as I'm starting to say more often, there are so many people that can just do a little bit. And unfortunately, a lot of people wait too long and then make that mistake of eventually, when it's all said and done, saying, I wish I had, instead of I'm glad I did. So that is something that I'm wanting to emphasize and use that passion to let people know that everybody's got to be involved with this. And it doesn't take much, but a little bit goes a long way. It's a whole lot better than nothing at all.
Awesome. In this moment, what is that key message that you want to leave with all the caregivers of persons who are experiencing Alzheimer's, whether it be from an early onset to an advanced stage? What is that key message you would want to leave with them in this moment?
Continue learning. Continue learning what you can do to help yourself. Continue learning what little things you can do to help your loved one. You're not going to be able to answer that question right when you walk in. You got to find some way to communicate such that they understand. Some way to communicate so that you bring them out of the unfocus that they constantly have. Some way to take a breath away from the frustration, lack of patience, roller coaster of emotions that you go through. Just sort of step back and say, whew, it's the disease. It's not my loved one. You need to ask for help. Don't spend too much time asking for it because you're only stressed when you don't get it. Hopefully it's a common sense thing for family members, for church members, for whomever in the community that can step forward and help, somebody in the community that is going through the care of a loved one. Because again, if you can't help the caregiver, it's tougher to be the best caregiver for your loved one. And that's the biggest thing.
And in parting, in closing our conversation as the clock is on us, the one big thing that we often hear, persons who talk about they were able to do this, or they were able to do that, or they're able to care for their loved ones in a certain way, is the dollar factor. Mm-hmm. To love and care for a person in this condition, is it considered expensive, or do you have to or not be wealthy to do it?
You don't have to be wealthy to do it. We weren't wealthy. What we had is contribution from my brothers and my sister. And I've had contribution for hundreds of friends that I've had before I started caregiving that at least check in to see, hey, how you doing? You know something? You're alone because people walk away. They think that they can't be a part of. Don't have to come in and take care of my mother. Like I said, help take care of me. Just say that you're thinking about me. You're wondering how I'm doing. In a big way, for people who are around my age, or our age, we're all going through something similar. Even if it's not with dementia or Alzheimer's, just our parents getting older, they need care. And it's still tough to watch them go through that aging process and the things that they can't do. That caregiver, that son or daughter that's around still helping out, it's tough for them to see that on a regular basis. But a little bit of support can make a difference, whether or not you show up at the house for dinner, have help with the conversation, whether or not you do the dishes and somebody go out, take a walk. I can go to the gym and I can do my thing and somebody else can just spend a little bit of time with mom. Utilize the people that are around you. And I also ask the people that are around us, step in, help out. It makes a big difference.
Larry, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been a true inspiration.
My pleasure.
With the burst of emotions that we would have seen here, it tells us that this came from your heart and it's there. Mom is gone in the flesh, but she lives on there in those memories. Thank you so much for being such a great impact to the world, the people who would have seen this. Thank God for technology and you deciding to put it to its best use in that moment. Keep sharing the stories.
Thank you.
Enjoy the Virgin Islands while you are here. This is a warm and hospitable place and people, and we wish you all the best. Please give our love to your sister and your other two brothers.
I will do.
And continue to do this great job.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
And I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards.